What's good, party people? I'm Jack Patterson, welcoming you to Week 14 of the PrepZone preview. Joined as always by Sports Director Rex Castillo and Sports Anchor Justin Holbrook as we enter the second week of the playoffs here in Chattahoochee Valley. We lost a lot of teams last week, but we still have just over a dozen teams left standing.
It's an exciting first week of the playoffs, first full week really for Alabama and Georgia, so it was a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Oh, great action here. I can't believe it. I'm first postseason here as your sports director, already having a lot of fun.
And the fun's just going to keep on coming in the second round. We'll start in Georgia, where we start with the second-ranked Marion County Eagles in Class 1A Public. They will host Montgomery County. Now, the last time we saw Marion County, they defeated Slide County in the Region 4 1A title game. They've had a week off to rest, prepare. Where do we think the Eagles go from here?
When you give a team that's had that much of a grind throughout the season, going undefeated, road warriors practically the entire way, a rest is a welcome sight. So I think to give a team like Marion County that was already so focused a little extra time to rest, I understand that you want momentum. I don't think there's any rust we have to worry about with Marion County. If anything, you gave them more time to prepare. That makes them more dangerous heading into this matchup.
Absolutely, Justin.
The benefit of having that week off was you got to go back and look at that Slide game and the mistakes they made in the first half. They had 3 turnovers in that game against Slide early on in that first half. They finally broke through and got a touchdown late. But what you need to do in that week off is say, we got to refine the things that are small things, yes, but they're going to turn out to be important things, especially in the playoffs. And it's going to matter if they end up playing the Slide again in the next week, which could happen.
It very well could happen. One note about Marion County is, even though they only scored 21 against Slide, they are on a blistering record pace offensively. They are, right now, as it stands, school record 40 points a game.
That's insane.
I said 3 turnovers. They had 4 in that first half. So even
4
more
turnovers
reason,
and still 21
even
points.
more reason, because I remember saying on the show for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and dessert they had turnovers. So got to clean it up.
Great line, by the way.
Thank you.
Nailed it.
Yeah, I'll take it.
So, speaking of those Slide County Wildcats, they are also at home, the number 7th ranked team in 1A Public. They host 10th ranked Tryon. Now, Slide County has never made it to the Sweet 16. They're 1 game away. First time they've ever had a first round bye in the playoffs. Do we think this team can get the job done and potentially set up another date with Marion County?
I really do think so, because against Slide County, their only weakness has been against Marion County. Every other test that they have come against throughout the regular season, they've passed. They're tough. This is a team that's really hungry, has a brand new focus that we've seen throughout the rest of the season. And personally, I just really want to see another Marion County Slide County game. How much fun would that be?
Oh, this is going to be a lot of fun, especially in Marion County again. Who wouldn't want to see that?
The thing that worries me about that is if they do play the Eagles again, Marion County made mistakes, which is why the game was close. Slide just wasn't the better team, and I don't know if they will be if Marion County gets better and cleans up those mistakes. So you need a game in which you come out and absolutely run past Tryon. And then that will get you momentum going into the Marion County game, because you know they're going to look at those 2 games in which they lost, and it wasn't a close margin really either game. So you're going to have to take this game, go to that game against Marion County with some momentum. I don't think it's going to be a close game if they're going to have a chance against the Eagles.
Absolutely. And one thing about Tryon that take a note of is a very experienced team. They've made the playoffs the last 6 seasons, and this team was a quarterfinal team in 2016. So Tryon's pretty solid across the state. We'll see how the Wildcats can get it done. Now, crossing the river over into Alabama, man, we have some good games this week. We'll start in Auburn, where the Auburn Tigers will host Lee Montgomery, their second matchup of the season. Now, Auburn won this matchup in Montgomery 21-17 earlier this season. It's a battle of 2 teams that are kind of alike. Both have strong running games, and both can pass it when necessary, and both have dual threat quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think it's a good test to see how much Auburn has improved since the Central loss and see where they go from there. And you know that they're going to want to play Central the next week, assuming that Central gets past McGill-Tulane, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there. So I think if you're Auburn, you got to stay focused, because that was a close game in which Auburn had to come back and beat Lee Montgomery in Montgomery, which was impressive.
Yes.
So I like their chances, and I think they're going to do well, especially with that game being at the Duck.
Well, I echo a lot of the same things you said, is that Auburn, now the fact that this is at Duck, this is going to be a totally different game changer. For them to win at Lee Montgomery, I think that was a big signal call to all of us. Like, hey, look, Auburn is a real tough team on the road or at home. So, because you could always do well at home, and you could expect that. But Auburn's home crowd, I think, is going to play a big factor into this. It's such a great atmosphere at the Duck. And I think Auburn, like you said, not to overlook Lee Montgomery, but they want that Central game next week when even more is on the line. So we saw how well they played Central at the very beginning. So I think, again, all the pieces are there for Auburn to advance to the next round. And hopefully, again, Love to see another rematch.
And Auburn's had a lot of success against Lee. They've met 11 times since 2001, 11-0. Including 3 games.
So we've seen this story before.
Including 3 wins in the playoffs. But that 21-17 game earlier this season was the closest margin in that entire series since 2001.
Well, I mean, we talked to Adam Weingarten, too, right before the Central game. He said we've gotten better each and every week. And that game was fairly early in the season. I think it was around week 5 that they played Lee. So they got much, much better going into that game, and they won that game. So that's what makes Auburn scary, playing Lee Montgomery.
I was about to say that this team was already solid from mid-season form on and even heading into the Central game, but Coach Weingarten has such a high standard for that team. I don't think he's seen their best game yet, and I don't know if this team can ever reach that, but if they get close to what he thinks they can be the best at, that's a scary team.
Very scary.
I would say the best that I saw them play was probably the Opelika game.
Gotcha.
Coming back and winning that game in the last few seconds against a very talented team, maybe the hottest team in Alabama right now in all classifications, except for Central. Great win, and I think if you can match that, look out, Lee.
There we go.
Absolutely. Now, heading over to the AISA, it is championship week over at Troy University, Veterans Memorial Stadium, and once again, for the 4th straight year, we find the Chambers Academy Rebels. They're in Class 1A. They will face Crenshaw Christian for the 1A state championship. That is a noon Central Time kickoff at Chambers Academy. Now, we all know the story behind Chambers Academy. They've been there 4 straight years. Last 3 years have come up short. The last 2 years lost by a combined 3 points.
Oh, man.
Can they finally get over the hump?
I really think so. Yeah, I really think so. And I think it's going to be within 7 to 10 that they do win the game. This is the best offensive team that they've had all season. If we're talking about their starters on defense, they've given up 3 touchdowns all season.
All season long.
All season long. That's defense, starters.
Wow.
So this is a very, very talented Chambers team, and it's just fitting that it's their 50th year of playing football, and they're still looking for that first title. Even though they've been there now 4 years in a row, they're still searching for that first one. And I think they finally have the basis there with Jason Allen as their coach. The seniors have been together. I think he told me something ridiculous. Like, since 2010, when they were sophomores, their record has been 35-2, now 36-2, winning the semifinal game. So this is a very, very talented senior group led by CJ Lyons, who he told me before last week had 1,700 yards on the year before even carrying the ball 100 times, meaning the guy has about 17 yards a carry.
He's a guaranteed first down.
Remarkable what he does.
I call him the playmaker.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he is the definition of a playmaker.
He's a problem, and the defense is as well. And I think that combination is enough to get them over the hump.
I agree. One thing about this series against Crenshaw, Chambers has not given up more than 7 points to this team in the last 4 meetings over the last 4 years. I think this is the year.
I agree with both of you guys that this is the most complete team we've seen from Chambers. This is my first year seeing them, but how impressive they look. They blow people out, and they do it in all 3 phases. I mean, we have highlights from each side of the ball when it comes to them. And a guy like CJ Lyons, who I swear they part the Red Sea every time he gets any kind of daylight, and it's just, you know what, you're not going to catch him. To see how close you can get before he gets to the end zone. So I think this is a team, as you mentioned in a great story that Justin did, this team wants the big picture to be small town famous. They understand what's on the line. They've been there before. They know what this stage is like. So I think it's this time, with this group, they take that final step.
I feel like Coach Allen should be in marketing or PR, coming up with the slogan "Small Town Famous."
I like
That's pretty good. That's pretty
Put
good.
it on a T-shirt.
That kind of gave me goosebumps.
Right?
Like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's a pretty good slogan.
He says he wants this team to be the one that's known 15, 20 years from now.
Yep.
And I think this is going to be that team that is known 15 to 20 years from now.
It's easy to drive past the school, but right in front is a Chambers Academy sign, and they have just years of 3 teams that have been successful, and the football team can plant theirs right there on that school entrance. I think they're going to do it.
I think it's time.
What it's all about with small towns like that. So good luck, boys.
Absolutely. And now it's time to go to our Pepsi Prep Zone game of the week. And man, oh man,
We're excited.
Central McGill-Tulane Part 4.
Let's do it again, right?
What more can really be said about these two teams? I mean, you have a Central team that is, in just about every sense of the word, a dynasty, with the exception of their games against McGill-Tulane over the last 3 years.
Right.
I mean, they've done everything right. They've had undefeated seasons. They've won region titles. They've made deep playoff runs, but have not been able to get past the Yellow Jackets from Mobile the last 3 seasons. They meet in the second round for the first time. Jamie DuBose has never beaten McGill.
I like what you did in the hype video, because we brought up Central. One of the first things that you heard was Jamie DuBose saying, "This is not the last 3 years. This is a new team. We're not worried about what we did against anybody. That includes McGill. And I think he believes that, and I think the players do as well. Will they think about it? Sure. It's hard not to.
Yeah.
But I still do believe that it's a different team and a slightly better team, if that was possible for Central to get better over the past 3 years, and I think they've done so. So it's important to remember, yes, you want to beat this team because you've lost to them 3 years in a row in a very important game.
Right.
But at the same time, thinking that we are a different team. We're not that team. We're not any of those teams. And we're our own team to get that first title since '90 and only the second in school history.
I think the composure of this team, even they've had that focus. When I first covered them in Atlanta at that C1N Classic, their very first break, they broke the team huddle with state championship. That was the goal from the beginning. So I think, again, like you brought up, yes, there's plenty of storylines here, and it's kind of our job to remind you guys what those storylines are. But this team, my big worry with the Red Devils is, can they get out of their own way early enough to just blow the brakes off of this game? Because once again, it takes one play and then the Devils are off to the races. But I think being at home with this kind of environment, and again, when the hype video you brought up, we saw McGill celebrate.
I was there.
There.
I was there last year in the fourth quarter and overtime as McGill celebrated on the field, and I can tell you, like, I saw the looks of, I saw disappointment. I saw, frustration. When you come so close to beating that team that has been like the pain in your backside for the last 2, now 3 years, you come so close, and to see it come down to a blocked extra point in overtime. Wow. On your home field, no less. That's motivation, if anything. I know Jamie says they're not thinking about it, that this is a different team, and I believe him to a certain extent, but you can't not want to just get some kind of payback for that.
I think you have to kind of reel it in too, because if you want too much of it, you're going to go out too hard and make too many mistakes.
That's true.
And we've seen them do that before. We saw them do that against Auburn, 3 turnovers in the first half. So yes, you want to be motivated, but you want to be able to hold it back a little bit. That way you're not making mistakes, penalties, turnovers, those kinds of things that will set you back against a team like McGill. So yes, absolutely. Have that in the back of your head, but don't let it control the entire game.
Absolutely.
And I think one thing that this Central team has done very well is they leave no doubt. I mean, yes, they blow people by 30 or 40, but it's kind of that attitude is that, look, we want to leave no doubt. You know who's the best team. We know we're the better team tonight. So I think that's one statement they want to make against McGill. These games have been close. A block, extra point. I think Jamie and these boys want to win this one by a couple scores. So.
And one note to make, in these 3 games previously in the playoffs, the margin of victory has shrunk every season.
Wow.
It was
that's a really interesting observation.
It was 1 point last year in favor of McGill Tulane. You see where I'm going.
It's going to be fun.
It's kind of like graduating college. You're waiting for that senior year, and if you win this game, you really graduated.
Absolutely.
And then you're moving on to that next phase and what is next for Central. And I think that's national rankings, if you can do that against McGill.
Let's have some fun on Friday, huh?
All right, and this guy is the guy who gets to go out to our Friday night tailgate games, especially sponsored by Pepsi.
Time.
Thank you, Justin. I appreciate you.
It only took to the final game of the regular season. So Rex will be out live at Garrett Harrison Stadium during our 5 and 6 o'clock newscast, plus scores, highlights, and more on the Prep Zone presented by WOW at 11:15, 10:15 Central, right here on News 3. Now, before we go, we're going to run down the rest of our playoff teams. All the other teams that we have mentioned are either at home or on the road. We will try to have as many of these games as possible. So let's start in Alabama since we left off in Alabama.
There you go.
Opelika hits the road to Bessemer City to face off with the Tigers. That's in Class 6A. In Class 2A, Lafayette will host the Highland Home favorite mascot name, Flying Squadron.
Nice.
And Lynette continues their state title defense run at home against Marengo. Now over in Georgia, Columbus, fresh off the upset last week, first playoff win since 1994. They head over to Central Georgia. They face off with Baldwin and Milledgeville. Troup County hits the road to Pickens County. That one will be fun. Callaway takes on the defending Class 2A state champion Hateville Charter. That one will also be fun. And last but certainly not least, in 1A private, Brookstone, fresh off of their upset win last week over Christian Heritage, they will face off with North Cobb Christian in Atlanta. So, man, that was Kennesaw, by the way, not Atlanta. Kennesaw. So, man, this is going to be fun. There's a lot of fun going on this week. And as always, stay tuned to News 3. We will have you covered across the two-state as we get ready to head into the Sweet 16 of the playoff run. But until next week, for Rex and Justin, I'm Jack. We'll catch you later. As always, go out and enjoy the games. We'll see you next week on the PrepZone Preview.